from the mind of one of the most accomplished professional tournament bass anglers. Whether it's from the front deck of his bass boat or high up in a tree stand, Clark Wendlandt loves the Texas outdoors and wants to share it all with you.
You know, it's going to be an incredible adventure, and I look forward to bringing the viewer what this awesome state has to offer, from great fishing to great hunting to a bunch of excitement. It ought to be really awesome. Hey, we just put our boat in Coleto Creek Reservoir. Foggy morning. We drove in this morning. Middle of the spawn is what it ought to be. We're down in deep South Texas. It's been a cold spring, but you know, the trees are coming out. You can tell, I mean, it's starting to really feel like spring. Pretty warm today. They ought to be biting. Hey, this is fishing and hunting Texas.
Coleto Creek Reservoir is located just southwest of Victoria, Texas, with a surface area of 3,100 acres. With various types of habitat, including steep rocky bands, shallow brushy flats, and creek channels, Coleto Creek Reservoir is definitely a lake with the potential for some good bass.
You know, normally I would put my boat in the water and I'd run all around the lake. I'd look at my Garmin 1040XS. I'd be paying attention to the depth, where I'm seeing bait, where the grass is, water temperature. Well, I've done that. The only thing about it is that it's one of those foggy days. And I mean, when it's foggy like this, you just can't run around. And so basically I just got to a grass flat right here. We're just gonna see what happens. Get a bait in the water. You know, so far what I've learned, I've fished out here we've been only fishing about 10 minutes. What I've noticed is that the vegetation that grows under the water, it looks like milfoil to me. I've caught a few pieces of it. It's actually growing only as shallow as about 4 or 5 feet, which tells me that this lake was down low. It was low at some point, probably over the last year or so. It's just been in a little bit of a drought down here. And so now the water's come up and you can see a lot of floating debris. You can tell the water's definitely come up. And so those fish got to adjust to that. Sometimes they'll stay on the inside grass line, which is where the grass quits growing before the water came up, or they'll go shallow, and eventually they'll go shallow. So we just got to figure that out. That's a good one. Get up out of there. All the way on the inside of those reeds where that fish was. And I was thinking to myself, you know, the outside of these reeds right here are like 3.5 feet, but as far as spawning goes, you know, you would just think they'd want to even be shallow, and it's real shallow up in there, but there's a little buck bass on the bed. That's a start. That's the first bite we've had. Actually had another one on a chatterbait, but it's a good 2-pounder anyway. That reed move up there. I saw that reed actually move before the fish, and it may have been a bigger one that was down there. This might be the male. Get up here. That's a nice 2-pounder, fatty. And I saw it move, and then I saw it move actually a second time, and that is just so cool. I mean, you just barely see that thing, just barely move. You just know something's there. That's a good looking fish right there. 2-pounder, 2.5. Now that was an isolated cover bass right there. If you look at that little patch of reeds, you know, it's just 2 or 3 little stalks and then a little clump and another little stalk and another little clump. And, you know, that a lot of times keys you in on, you know, where one might be spawning. And anytime during the spawn you catch a fish, you know, say a 2-pounder, 1.5 pounds, even a 3-pounder, a lot of times that may be a male. And a lot of times you just want to go in there, you want to make sure there's not a 5 or 6 pounder just sitting down there with him. And so, you know, that exact same flip you caught that fish on, a lot of times it just deserved another fish. There he is. It's not as big. It wasn't as big, but it was another bass. Now maybe that first one I caught was a female, that was the male. I don't know, that one wasn't that big. But it was right in the exact same spot.
More South Texas fun when Fishing and Hunting Texas returns. Fishing and Hunting Texas is brought to you in part by Cabela's, it's in your nature. Garmin, the power of simple. Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time.
Fish on! Come on, get together.
Hey! Good job!
Yeah, right.
The Alaskan Series Cooler Packs by Arctic Ice. Specifically designed to keep your food and drinks cold all day long without having to use ice and end up with a soggy lunch. The Alaskan Series by Arctic Ice. Bitterly cold.
Like what you see on Americana Outdoors? Check out AmericanaOutdoors.com for all the latest fishing information. AmericanaOutdoors.com has a great variety of fishing channels for saltwater and freshwater sportsmen. Check it out at AmericanaOutdoors.com.
Engineered to excel, the Ranger Z500 and Z100 series are packed with advantages and exclusive features. Coupled with Evinrude E-Tech's power, performance, and 300 hours with no dealer schedule maintenance, the accelerated standards of the Ranger Z series are driven to dominate. From first light to last cast, they're put together to set you apart. Experience more with Evinrude E-Tech.
Hi, I'm Cabela's Pro Staffer Wade Middleton. Aquatic invasive species are threatening our lakes and rivers. We must act now or the results could be devastating. Visit Cabela's.com to learn more about how you can help stop the spread of aquatic hitchhikers.
The Arctic Ice Tundra Series, capable of keeping your food frozen all day long. The Tundra Series is a portable, safe, and reusable alternative ideally suited to replace dry ice. Keep your food as frozen as the Tundra with the Tundra Series from Arctic Ice.
Welcome back to Fishing and Hunting Texas with host Clark Wendlandt.
Hey, we're at Coleto Creek Reservoir in South Texas, and I've never fished here before. What I've heard about it before is it had grass in it. I actually thought it was going to be hydrilla. It wasn't, it was milfoil. The other thing that we noticed when we got here is that there was miles and miles of flooded, what I would call cane. Then there's also reeds. We also flip what I would call buggy whips, or they're kind of a round reed. The actual reeds are more of like what I would call sawgrass. They have actually got a blade on them. And so there's just tons of cover. My main thought was we get here, we put the boat in the water, temperature gauge is 64, 65 degrees. Well, I mean, that's spawn. There's no doubt about it. That is the perfect spawning temperature for bass. And so they can spawn out there in the deeper grass, but typically if water's flooded, they're gonna wanna move up into that shallow cover. That's a nice one. He's right on the edge of that dead reed. Get up in here. Ooh, that's a good one. Look at that thing. Now that fish is probably on a bed for sure. You see how skinny and drawn up he is? He's just, I mean, that's a good fish right there. You know, anytime you fish, you start out on a new lake, you start fishing, things kind of start cluing into you as you go. And you know, we threw a horny toad some, well, we didn't get any bites on it. And I started thinking, you know, hey, maybe a spro frog or a hollow body frog will work better. And just little things like that, you know, stop, you change some baits. You know, I've thrown a chatterbait some, I had one bite on it, but you know, I'm just not so sure about that. I may change and put you know, swim a jig a little bit, because there's a lot of shallow cover that you can swim a jig through. Just little things I've noticed that just make me think, okay, well, I'm gonna make a couple of changes, stop for a minute, and then get right back to it. What I've noticed is all the fish have been on reeds about 3 feet deep. Any kind of cover that's in about 3 feet is where they've been, and so you know, we're just gonna go from there. There's a good one. Come on, that's a big old fish. I got to the back of this drain. Oh, look at that thing. Only thing I could throw besides flipping is a frog. That's what I end up with right there. Oh, that thing just hammered that thing. We've been, I've thrown topwater all morning. The only thing I could think is, they just didn't seem to want to bite it. And the only thing I could possibly think on the whole deal is that maybe way back in the back of a skinny drain, where the water's really warmed up. That's a good one. Obviously been spawning. You can see his tail. That's too fun right there. Well, we got a little bit of a storm coming, and we've had a pretty good day so far. Caught, 6 or 7, 8 fish, and one good one on a frog. When we got way up there where that frogfish was, the water started getting kind of muddy, and then this storm's coming, so we're just back kind of close, and we may have to wait this storm out. But they ought to be biting right now. See if we can get 1 or 2 more. Gosh. There's a bass in there, I promise. That's pretty cool. That fish bit one time. I threw it back in there again. He bit again. Good looking fish.
When Fishing and Hunting Texas returns, a storm rolls in. Clark has long trusted Ranger boats to get him to and from his spots on the water safely. Let's put your Ranger knowledge to the test. What's the earliest year model that Ranger can still provide aftermarket seats for? For the answer to this and for a Ranger boat that was built to be yours, visit mydreamrig.com.
Call me a fool for searching. Nessie doesn't want to be found. But I've got the new Garmin combo with the clearest scanning sonar images on the water. I can see Nessie's home and all the wee fish in crisp detail. I mean, look at it, look. It's her. You are real. You do exist.
Like what you see on Americana Outdoors? Check out AmericanaOutdoors.com for the latest outdoor news. You can view all of our recent episodes and get all the info about our outdoor expeditions. Check it out at AmericanaOutdoors.com.
Hi, I'm Billy Gerke, and whether you're taking your son or daughter on his or her first outdoor adventure or enjoying some time for yourself outdoors, the team at Foreverlast wants you to know we strive to make only the best products, and it is our promise to you to continue to bring new ideas and improve others to keep you at the forefront of your pursuit. Family, friends, and the great outdoors, it's who we are. Foreverlast.
The distances aren't getting shorter. The trucks are going farther. The 2013 Ram 1500 with best-in-class fuel economy, engineered to move heaven and earth. Guts, glory, Ram. The new Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2013 Truck of the Year.
From bass and walleye to crappie in the great outdoors, you deserve more than old-school aluminum. Experience the quality, performance, and fishability of a Ranger aluminum design. Coupled with Evinrude E-Tech's power, performance, and 300 hours with no dealer-scheduled maintenance, these advanced designs from Ranger are engineered to excel and priced to be yours. Experience more with Evinrude E-Tech.
When you pack your cooler for a barbecue or even a tailgate party, be sure to pack it with Chillin' Brew, powered by Arctic Ice. Chillin' Brew in a cooler can keep beer at the perfect drinking temperature longer than ice. Grab some brews and Chillin' Brew today.
Fishing and Hunting Texas is brought to you in part by Arctic Ice. Preserve an Arctic refuge in your cooler. AmericanaOutdoors.com, your website for fishing and hunting news. And by Lucas Oil Marine Products, made in America, sold to the world. Welcome back to Fishing and Hunting Texas with host Clark Wendlandt. Clark is fishing on Coleto Creek Reservoir in South Texas, hoping to find some spawning bass, but the weather is throwing a wrench in his plans.
The first day we caught 3 or 4 bass, but they were some of our better fish on that frog. And so I was really excited to come back the next day and start throwing that frog. But you know what happens is we get a torrential rain. I mean, stormed all night long, lightning, thunder. I mean, it's like a big rain. Today, the water's jumped up maybe even another foot. I mean, it's come up a bunch. The boat ramps, everything's flooded. What I've learned in the past, my fishing all over this country is when water comes up really fast, fishing's tough. We don't know exactly what's gonna happen. We know we're somewhere yesterday. Let's see if we can figure it out today. You know, anytime you go fishing, you got a time to go and you see flooded conditions like this, it's gonna be tough. That's just the way it is. I've fished a lot of places that have been really flooded. The only thing that I've ever really had happen that when the water really came up like this is a lot of times if you knew where some fish were, so we kind of knew there were some kind of on those outside reed clumps, you know, there's a good chance you can catch them in that kind of stuff. And so, you know, we've come way up the river where the most current is, and we found a little backwater that the water still looks pretty good in. And, you know, all we can do is just fish. And so, you know, the water's a little stained, you know, it's kind of mixing in here, but it's a little bit, it's clear enough to catch a bass. We have had a major flood event last night. And I mean, we got up here, there's stuff in the water everywhere, and there's this one backwater pond. I'll show it to you on the GPS in a minute, that you can absolutely, I mean, you can tell there's not gonna be any current flow in here. And we got back in here, there's like a little 3-foot trough in here. Water's beautiful, black, just pretty as it can be. And little dead reed clump right there. There's the first fish of the day, 2-pounder. Let's see if we can get another. That sucker bit that thing, and I just couldn't tell it was a bite. I kept thinking, maybe, and finally decided it was a nice fish. This looked like the very best patch. See, what it is out here is that these are little reed patches that don't have any green to them yet. You know, a lot of what we fished yesterday was green. They're dead. And a lot of times in Florida, when I fished in Florida, you'll see them. They'll spawn on those dead reed clumps before they green up. We just started kind of really picking it apart, and it ended up being a great fishing location. We kind of got up in some real heavy flooded stuff, but where all that floating debris was, it had shielded the mud from going farther back in there. The water had stayed clear. Now, these fish are spawning right here, and that's why they're there. I mean, they've probably been on a bed where the water temperature is 65 degrees, and nice fish. That's pretty fun. I mean, you know, when you get to a lake like this and you got a flood situation, or, you know, anything that changes drastically like this, it's gonna make the fishing hard. And, you know, you get way back up in something like this and you start catching fish, it just adds just a little bit of level of challenge, or a little level of, you know, something that's just a lot harder. And now we just gotta get us a big one.
When Fishing and Hunting Texas returns, Clark gets his biggest Coleto bass yet. Like what you see on Americana Outdoors? Check out AmericanaOutdoors.com for the latest outdoor news. You can view all of our recent episodes and get all the info about our outdoor expeditions. Check it out at AmericanaOutdoors.com.
call me a fool for searching. Nessie doesn't want to be found. But I've got the new Garmin combo with the clearest scanning sonar images on the water. I can see Nessie's home and all the wee fish in crisp detail. I mean, look at it, look. It's her. You are real. You do exist.
For nearly 2 decades now, our team at Forever Last has never been more alive in the truth that we live hunting and fishing. The heartbeat, spirit, and tradition of the outdoors is what our company and all of our products are founded upon. Whether we're in the woods or on the water, you can rest assured we're working hard to invent new or improve other products to keep you at the forefront of your pursuit. Family, friends, and the great outdoors, it's who we are. Forever Last.
It's up to us, anglers, boaters, and other outdoor enthusiasts to take necessary steps to protect our lakes and rivers from non-native, harmful aquatic plants and animals. Visit Cabela's.com and learn more about the steps that you can take to help stop aquatic hitchhikers.
Like what you see on Americana Outdoors? Check out AmericanaOutdoors.com for all the latest fishing information. AmericanaOutdoors.com has a great variety of fishing channels for saltwater and freshwater sportsmen. Check it out at AmericanaOutdoors.com.
The Alaskan Series Cooler Packs by Arctic Ice. Specifically designed to keep your food and drinks cold all day long without having to use ice and end up with a soggy lunch. The Alaskan Series by Arctic Ice. Bitterly cold.
With a great history in drag racing and now into the marine market, Lucas is proud to offer an ethanol treatment for a wide range of boat motors on the market today. Lucas Safeguard Ethanol Fuel Conditioner with Stabilizers was developed to specifically address issues associated with using ethanol-based fuels. Increase your mileage and performance with Lucas Oil High Performance products. Available at Cabela's.
Welcome back to Fishing and Hunting Texas. We're in South Texas on the Coleto Creek Reservoir with host Clark Wendlandt.
You know, just to recap what we've done today, right on the other side of this little peninsula right here is a muddy mess of current. What we've done is we've come back in an area that you could tell on the GPS was going against the current. It probably wasn't going to get any runoff, and sure enough, it didn't. Not a place I've ever been before. I've never even fished this lake before, but it just looked right when I looked at the GPS. And sometimes that mapping can show you stuff like that. You get in there on that map and you just start looking for places. Hey, maybe that will actually stay clear. We're back in here and we've had 6 or 8 bites in just kind of a little, almost like a pond situation. And we've got most of them just on isolated cover, isolated bean bushes, isolated reeds, just little patches of them, not much, just a little bit, but there's probably places that they're actually sitting down there and spawning. Get in here, right on that isolated cover. You know, one little seedy bean bush, there's all this stuff around the bank, but the ones out in the middle are the ones we get every bite on. And you know, the water's rising, but as long as you can still see the cover you want to fish, you can still catch them.
Clark has managed to catch quite a few big bass here on Coleto Creek. Let's take a closer look at what he threw today in this tackle breakdown.
Hey, I want to talk to you just a little bit about our tackle setup here in these flooded conditions at Coleto Creek. You know, we got here, the water had just come up like 5 feet in the last week. And so, you know, we started off flipping, and what we're flipping is something that's going to get us to the bottom. You know, when you're going over something, you need a little bit heavier weight. I ended up liking 1/4 the best. I started with a 5/16 and ended up thinking that was a little bit too heavy. I'm gonna peg the weight. What I've got on there is a little bobber stopper. You can get them just about anywhere. It's just a little rubber ball that basically sits above your weight and it won't let your weight go down the line. So, because when your bait goes over something and falls down into a hole, you want the bait, when the weight does that, you want the bait to stay with it. And so that's why you peg it. I've got just a straight shank worm hook on here, and basically just a crawdad. And basically my hook actually fits the size of the bait. You don't want a hook that's real small. You want one that fits the size of the bait. This is actually a 5/0 right here flipping hook. And you know, the rest of my setup, fluorocarbon line. I like fluorocarbon better if I feel like I can get away with it. Now this right here, this flipping conditions feels perfect for fluorocarbon. If it was thicker, I'd end up going to braid. If I was punching just mats or just real heavy bushes, then I'd probably be with braid, but that's what I like. As far as my rod goes, this is a Tournament ZX flipping rod with a Cabela's Verano bait casting reel, and it's just a smooth presentation. You know, you watch me flip that thing, I'm just making little smooth presentations, one after another. And so that's my flipping setup. And then what you've seen us catch some of the bigger fish on has been a frog, and I'm throwing a Spro frog. This is actually a popping frog, and it wouldn't matter. The popping of the bait makes no difference at all. They both got good hooks in them, the popper or the regular frog. I got something kind of bright because the conditions just seem to call for it. It's got a white kind of underbelly, kind of chartreuse on the side, green on the back. I just feel like they can see it really good. As far as my rod and reel goes, heavy. I mean, you gotta have a heavy rod. This is an American TXS frog and jig rod. Now on this setup, just about all the time I'm throwing a frog, I use braid, 65-pound braid or 50-pound braid, just depending on the situation. It casts really well and it'll get those fish out of those real heavy situations. That's my setup here, Coleto Creek. Flooded conditions, you know, we wish it wouldn't have been flooded like this, but you just have to adapt. Good gosh, that was a big old fish. There it comes to it. It's right underneath it. I got him. I got that big bad boy. Come on, dude. Oh, that gosh, look at that fish. Look at that thing. Ah. Now that's a post-spawn fish. You can just tell how skinny it is, but wow. I mean, I was reeling that thing along, that heavy scum. I mean, I don't have any idea if I can catch one. Look at that fish. That's a long fish. Big old giant thing. Way cool. Hey, thanks for joining us today on Fishing and Hunting Texas. You know, we got to showcase a really cool lake down in South Texas, Coleto Creek Reservoir. Flooded conditions. It even got more flooded overnight. We fished 2 different days, caught them on a frog, caught them flipping. It's been really fun. Hey, check out our Facebook page. Let us know what lakes you'd like us to go visit. Maybe we'll end up on your local lake. We're game to go anywhere in the state of Texas. It's been great fun. This is Fishing and Hunting Texas.
Remember to find us online at fishandhuntingtexas.com, where you can watch full episodes of our shows and find out Clark's tips and thoughts on today's show by reading his blog. There's also a link to our Facebook page, where you'll be up to date on where Clark is and what he's up to out in the Texas outdoors. See you next week.